I'm Rebecca Z, and I am here today with a quick little exercise for you. It's a method of drawing that doesn't emphasize perfection. It allows for a bit of individual flair and a little bit of inaccuracy that we actually celebrate in this kind of drawing. And what a relief, right? To be freed from the necessity for perfection and accuracy. I think we all too often look at drawing with the understanding that if it isn't perfect, it isn't right. And that's not true. I was inspired by some artwork on cards this week in preparation for Mother's Day. I was looking for something for my mom, and I saw a lot of watercolor based cards. And you will too. If you go to the card section, you'll see the very same type of thing that I did. And I was inspired by something in the card section. And so I went ahead and I made my own version of it. It's slightly different and a little bit off. I'm inspired, but I didn't copy it. And so I thought I would share this with you and show you how I set about doing a continuous line drawing of something like a simple garden of flowers. And so I'll show you my tabletop and we'll take a look at this together. All right, so you can see, I'll get rid of these here. You can see that I've got a couple of drawings here. Sometimes when I make cards, I will actually do so on a little watercolor postcard. And then if you have a 5x7 blank card, you can mount it on there and it creates a beautiful little natural mat for the smaller version. Or you could take and just paint on or draw on the entire width and breadth of the card. It's really up to you, but these little postcards can be kind of a fun way to know that it will fit exactly. So that's the difference between these two. With that in mind, if you take a look, I'm going to bring this up close so I don't have to change the zoom. You'll see that these flowers are not necessarily perfect or beautiful, but there is character that is gained through this continuous line method. And here's another one. And I like that character. It doesn't look as if I'm trying to be perfect. That's not my goal at all. My goal is to simply try in one continuous line to capture the flavor of the flower. And so I'm just going to walk through that real quickly for you as to how I do that. My favorite pen for this is a waterproof pen. This is a Micron Pigma. And this happens to be a black one, but you could use a brown one or another flavor of color. But I think black works really well for this. So I'm going to try to do just some sort of mimicry of this design. I liked both of them, but I think I'm going to just start with this one first. And so when I do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a flower to start on and a place to start on. A lot of times I like to, just start at the bottom and work my way up. So if I were to pick this, I don't know, it's sort of a rose-looking flower, and begin there, I might come up here until I see something that looks like a thorn, come out. I'm going to try to not pick up my pen, and I'm going to come out to this leaf. I'm going to come down and out and around. And every time I do this, it's going to be slightly different. Every time I encounter a new shape, I'm trying to just follow the line of that shape with my pen and just basically not pick up my pen and and create this continuous line. So as I go up the stem here, I'm going to come out with some of what are probably the guard petals on the rose, which I know about because my husband and I have grown roses for many years. And now I'm going to come out and find this big petal and come around maybe here more to this side where maybe I'll encounter another petal. And every time I do this, I'm going to come up with yet another design for this rose or whatever this flower happens to be. I am really just trying to keep my eye on the subject that I'm copying rather than on what I'm drawing, trying to just make my eye and my hand move at the same time. And if there's a secret to continuous contour drawing, I think it's that. It's to try to slow your eyes down and let the pen kind of follow along with your eyes at a slower speed. So there is the version of this flower that came out with this go around. Now what I notice is that I've only got half of my stem here. So maybe what I'll do is I'll try to just find a point at where I can begin again and just try to execute the same side or the next side of the flower with another continuous line. So this bunch of leaves is got 5 leaves attached to it, and that's often the case with roses. There's a 5-leaf grouping and a 3-leaf grouping that you'll see in the pattern in which they grow. I'm just trying to keep my pen in contact with the paper and trying to mimic what I see. But I'm not too worried if it's a little bit different. Let's see, I'm going to come around here. I'm going to let this come behind it. I picked up my pen there for just a second. So you can kind of see that this is basically the technique that I use. Now, if your pen is kind of running out, which it looks like mine might be a little bit, you can always come in and you can reinforce any lines that might have gotten a little bit hit and miss, but sometimes that's of interest. Now, you don't have to use this Micron Pigma. You could really use anything that you want, but one nice thing about this is that it is a very narrow line, and it is waterproof. So if I were to go in here and do some watercolor now, it would not run. This would not run. And maybe I'll just add another extra line because I can. Yeah, okay. So there we go. I have a flower form. And I think what I'll do then is I'm going to just play with this design a little bit, and I might bring my what I think are sort of my interpretation of lavender up and over maybe like this. And then when I get to the floral form, I'm just going to try to interpret these little rounded forms without picking up my pen. It's always in contact with the surface. I'm just going to kind of come up here and kind of try to bring it over on an angle, getting ever more narrow as I go. All right, so that might be one form. I'll come down and I'll find the other edge of this. Remember that stems generally will get thinner as they go, and they'll get fatter toward the base of the plant. Just in terms of structural support, that's usually how it goes. So I'm going to bring up another stem here and you'll see that I'm taking it behind when I want it to go behind, I lift my pen and then I put it back down again on the other side of a shape. So here I'm going to just kind of come around and do this whole thing again. And the point is that you get a real character from this inability to lift the pen. You just get a whole different flavor of drawing that can be really fun, and it's forgiving as well. I think this time though, I'll add this other side of the stem here. I think this time what I might do is put a third spray of lavender coming up, and I think I'll do it sort of in the middle where they might actually crisscross a little bit, maybe looking a little more natural this way. And then I'll start there we go. And I'm just kind of making little circles as I go. I'm not trying to be too exact. And I will exaggerate that tip on this one. All right. So I've got 3 sprigs of lavender here. And I'll bring this other side down. Then let's see. Oh, I've got these other flowers that I can do. If I start with this big tall one over here, maybe I'll come in here and I'll find my leaf that goes along with this plant. And again, I'm not picking up my pen. Maybe I'll come over to the other side and get this leaf over here while I'm down here and come up. And I think maybe I'll skip where there might be another flower form, and I'll just come up here and find maybe another leaf. And I'll come up and I'm going to find, I don't know, this almost looks like a chrysanthemum or maybe a dahlia. Who knows what kind of a flower this is. But I kind of like the spiky look here. And again, I'm just kind of never lifting my pen. And there it is. Now I think what I'll do is I'll come down and I'll make a little scribble at the base and come down here. And then I've left room for maybe another flower form in here. So I will start with a circular-ish center, and I'll come out. I'm going to make this one a little bit simpler than the one that I'm using as my inspiration image. There, I might just do something like that. And then I might find the stem of that dahlia flower there and connect it to the bottom. I like these little crocus looking flowers. I always think of my grandmother with crocus. She always pronounced it very European though. She said, "Crocus, honey, crocus." I love the crocus. Oh, they were always early up in Michigan. They were one of the first flowers that would give you hope that the hell of winter would soon be over. And so they always bring back happy memories for me. They're very hopeful flowers. There's one little crocus, and maybe I'll make some more over here. I'm gonna just, and we'll put little loop-de-loops in the center, and then I'm going to come up here with just little, I don't know, they're little stamens or something that come out, and I think I'll just put a little knot at the bottom there. I think I might come back and put a little knot at the bottom here. Well, you kind of see the idea though of how these flowers are developed, and I'm going to just leave this one, and I'm going to take a moment and I'm just going to paint. and kind of show you how simple this can be. You barely have to paint these in order for them to be good. This can be a fun way to even think about cleaning out your palette. Let's say you've got a messy palette like I do and you have some colors in there. That might be a way for you to say, oh, rather than waste that paint, you can think about maybe using it and using it up. So I'm going to grab a little brush here. And it would be helpful to have some water. Let me grab some water. Okay, so the technique that I'm going to be using for you here has a name, and it's one that we don't really talk about very often. Shape independent of line. So what does this mean? Shape independent of line means that you just paint outside, you paint a shape, but you don't pay attention to the lines. So it basically looks a little something like this. So let's say I wanted to paint this lavender, okay? Rather than filling in the lines, I'm just going to make a mark. And I'm going to do the same here. So there we go. I've painted my my lavender. Wasn't that difficult? So now what I'm going to do is think about what other color might I like to put in this. So I think pink is always a nice floral color. So I'll bring in a little bit of pink. And I'm thinking, okay, what would I like? What would I like for my pink to look like? Or which flowers might be pink? Well, I'm thinking the rose kind of makes sense to make it pink, right? So I think what I'm going to do is, maybe what I'll do is just a little bit differently. I might just put a little bit of water there. And then maybe I'll just bring my pink to it. There we go. There's another way of bringing paint to that flower. I just put a little water on there. I wasn't quite sure where the water went. And there it is. Some of these lines are going to have paint on them, and others of them won't. Now, you don't have to make a hard edge shape necessarily. I could come in here and I could soften this shape a little bit on the lavender. It's kind of nice to have little areas that might be soft versus all hard edges. So I might soften that out there too. All right, so we've got a couple of quickly painted, easily painted things. The character of this is going to be held together by the line work that we've done. It's not going to be about precise painting. It's about this painting's focus is the lines. So similarly, I could do something like this with green. And let's see, I've got other flower forms here. I'm just going to soften that edge so it's not really a hard shape. I think some soft edges can help with this, because it can just allow the eye to not necessarily have one more edge to deal with. So softening here and there with just a little bit of water is, I think, a good idea. And then let's see. I've got pink here. I've got violet here to kind of stay in keeping with so maybe a red against the green theme. Maybe I'll just come in here and I'll mix my my pink and my violet, and maybe I'll come up with another color. That might be fun. And maybe I'll bring a little different pink to that too. So we've got just another flavor going on. And I think what I'll do is I'll just bring, well, look at that. That might just be all I want to do up there. I kind of like that. It's a little bit different color. I'll just bring a little different concentration to it here and there. And maybe that's all we need, is just something along those lines. And so I've got kind of 3 different versions of this pink and violet going on. Maybe what I'll do is bring yet another violet hue into the party. This is a permanent magenta. And maybe what I'll do is make one of my crocuses look this way. That's water, and then I'm just bringing pigment to it. And maybe I'll repeat that again over here. I'm going to go in with just paint now. I'm trying to consciously not be in the lines, and sometimes that's harder than you think. So maybe I'll make this one just mostly water and then just a little bit of color. And I'll let the pigment kind of flow into the watery areas that I sort of set up. Maybe I'll soften that. And let's see, maybe I will go back to just a lighter pink here for this one over here. Okay, so I've got 2 pink, kind of 1, 2, 3 purple. This is a little bit more of a purpley pink. So I think I've got quite a nice harmonic feeling going on. To go with this, it might be fun to have something a little bit complementary to the violet. So maybe what I'll do is get some orangey yellow going. This is a Winsor Yellow Deep. And so maybe what I'll do is think, okay, this is going to be a complementary color, and so I want to be strategic about where I put it because it's going to become focal. It's because it's sort of complementary to the majority of the colors here. So maybe what I'll do is put 3 little circles here. There we go. And maybe because of that color being there, maybe I'll make these 2 become an orange. And maybe I'll put this one here. Here we go. And maybe I'll just echo that, that orange again on the other side, but maybe with a little stronger feeling to it. I'll get a little bit more orangey feel to it. There we go. And maybe just a little bit more green here and there. So I'll come back in here with a little bit of green. Whoops, that's a little pink, but I'll just add a little green to that. And maybe I'll add a little green to that too. I'm kind of painting in the lines here though, which is not the point, but I'm going to soften and kind of bring a little bit of fuzzy to that area. I think I might be just about done. I think I've got 2 areas of green, but I feel like I need a little more green. For some reason, my eye is telling me more green, please. So I think I'll come in with water just to try to keep myself a little more random with where it goes. And there we are. I think I have, maybe I'll come down here too. Just paint through a couple of stems that way. Here we go. I feel like I have a nice little simple card. If I were to maybe do anything at this point, it might be to come in here and maybe draw a little bit more. I might actually draw a little bit more in the center to make it a little bit more pronounced. I think I like that. And overall though, I feel like it looks pretty sweet. So you might want to try this. It could be a really fun way for you to make something for your mom or for a special mom in your life. I'm going to send these to my daughters and wish them happy Mother's Day. They're such sweet moms. I think they'll enjoy it, and they deserve it for all the sleep they're losing and all the energy they're putting forth. So enjoy this, try it, let me know how it works for you, and if you would, I'd love to see what you end up doing with this lesson. Go ahead and post them in the comments.